Well, now, are you listening to the show right now? Now, if you hear my voice right now, talking to you, saying things, words and stuff, then you're apparently listening. Now, the question is, how many of you are listening? Well, I have stats on the show, and I know how many people listen. Well, that's to say, how many people tune in. And so, I think it's pretty likely. I think it's probably a good conclusion to suggest that the vast majority of the human race. Oh, I told myself I wouldn't use human race anymore. Want to be accurate. I think it's a pretty good guess, probably even a valid logical conclusion, or certainly a critical analytic observation, that the vast majority of humanity, the human species, is not listening to my program right now. In fact, probably not ever. Now, let's just consider the odds or the circumstances. Picture this: 7 billion plus people on the planet. Now, I'm assuming that that's including the pygmies, whatever number of pygmies still exist. I wonder if that includes, well, it certainly does include all living, breathing human beings in every part of the world, including maybe, how do they how do they take the census of the world? Who does that? And whose responsibility is it? For example, who counts all of the people in, say, Chile? Do other countries actually have a census? That reminds me, I read the other day something really weird. Joseph and Mary went to another town because Joseph, apparently, maybe Mary didn't count, but Joseph had to go to his home village. He had to leave one place and go to another place because where he wasn't his home village, or wasn't his, hometown, as it were. And so he had to go to another village so he could be counted and taxed. What? I think it was Thomas Paine in his book, The Age of Reason, that kind of gave me a heads up on that one. But anyway, I learned that they didn't do that like the Romans, because it was like they were under a domain of the Romans, so they didn't do that. Particularly of the peoples that they had conquered and colonialized and kind of ruled over. And so, he probably didn't have to really go to another town or his hometown. And where was he? Why wasn't he in his hometown in the first place? You understand what I mean? I mean, if I live in a town, why would I have to go to another town that I don't live in to pay taxes and get counted in the census? I mean, I don't live there. Why would I go there? And if I did live there, why do I have to go there from somewhere else? I mean, wouldn't I be there already, living there, and have a home and perhaps a job or something? So I'm just, sometimes people, in their naivete and their gullibility, boggle my mind. Now, how does one boggle one mind, by the way? All right, so let's say my mind is boggled, and yet I'm perfectly sane and perfectly clear in my thinking, and I'm asking myself questions, and the answers are just coming to me almost like magic, because sometimes thinking is really magical. And apparently a lot of people can't work magic with their brain. Now, I'm being rude. I'm insulting people that are not, very smart. And I'm not really, don't even go there is what I'm saying. Because that's just silly. So what I'm asking is, if you live in your town, and maybe it was like he had to go to his hometown from someplace where else he lived otherwise at that time, sort of like his birthplace, for example. Like me, I live near Worthington, a small village, as it were, a burg. Very few people, less than 1,000 people. Actually, probably a couple hundred or 300 people altogether in the area of that town. And because it's a small town. It has one street and perhaps 2 horses. I'm pretty sure it just has 2 horses. I don't think there's more than 2 horses in the Worthington proximity. And they don't even live in the town. They live just like in the outskirts of the town, about, say, quarter of a mile from the town, or maybe a third, or could be even a half a mile from the town itself. Just the town limits, as it were. And as it turns out, the town of Worthington, you can't call it a city because, a couple hundred people, 300 or 400 people. And that's in the general vicinity of, I don't even think, that might be counting like Hutchinson, which is across the river, and which is like a unincorporated area. I don't know if Worthington includes Hutchinson or not. It's like I have 2 names, but I'm only one entity. I understand that. I do. I have several names, actually. And they're all legal, legitimate, valid, and recognized by important people that matter. So, I just wonder about things, because I have all the time in the world. Probably not. But, I'm just curious. But anyway, the point is, not Adam. One would think all the men in the world of ancient times were called Adam. No, they weren't. So, my bad. Anyway, Joseph and Mary, who was not his wife at the time, as it turns out, got knocked up. And her story is, an angel appeared and said, God's gonna knock you up tonight, and you're going to be with child, and God is going to be the father. And so I wondered about that because, if man was created in God's image, then man has a pecker, and that he pees through, and which gets hard and erect and large, and larger than it is when it's not large, and then pokes that right in that girl's vagina, and she gets pregnant because he spits some seeds in her. So that would be kind of consistent with the idea of God looking sort of like man, because God has a penis. Why would he give man a penis to, get the poopy poopy? No. To get the, just imagine I've got my fingers in a circular shape here, a hole, and my index finger going in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out of the hole that is there, which is, let me kind of crimp that down because I like a kind of a nice tight hole, actually preferable, as opposed to that one, which is I gotta snap my fingers in that one, worn out. You know what I mean? So anyway, if God come down from the heavens, wherever that is, and where, Mars, like an alien, what? I don't know. So anyway, God comes down and he says, Mary, unbeknownst to you, now he's so ashamed of himself for doing this deed of knocking her up, apparently in the middle of the night when she was asleep or something, that he can't even face her himself. He has to send an angel down to talk to her and tell her, I'm an angel, and my boss, God, sent me down to tell you that, he fucked you, unbeknownst to you, apparently, because apparently he doesn't even, he can fuck you and not even wake you up and turn you on and get your pussy wet, and, oh, gee, that's just gross. We're just going way, way over the line here. All right. Oh, well, what the hell? The only people that believe that story anyway are people that are like, nah, I'm a coconut. And sorry if that didn't hurt your feelings or insult you or whatever, or offend you, but, guess what? You don't have the right not to be offended. And, if I had the right, if we as human beings had the right to not be offended, you know what? I would have about a gazillion cases to bring against those that have violated my right not to be offended. And I would take you to court and sue you. I'm suing your ass, and I'm going to ask you for like $1 billion for offending my ass. Hurting my feelings. The courts would be just jammed with like millions and millions and millions of cases, because everybody is offended at some point or another. And sometimes they deserve to be offended because they're idiots. But, like people who believe the Mary and Joseph story. Aw, you believed it. Gee, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. Yeah, I did, because you're an idiot. Now, there are people that call me an idiot, and I, get offended. And, shit, what the fuck? Why would you even do that to me? I didn't do anything to you. Why would you call me an idiot, you fucking idiot? And then it's, degrades from there down to Facebook level. Oh, yeah, Facebook level. Down there. Sort of like in a mediocre range of social interactions. Not always. I mean, if you're talking to friends and family and, talking about, hey, why don't you come on over, we'll have a beer and play some cards or, fuck each other's wives or something. Whatever. I mean, that's cool. But if you're going to get on Facebook and other places like Google Plus and so on, and you're just going to argue and bicker and argue and bicker and argue and bicker and call people names and shit, in my line of work, they call that being mediocre and common. Now, in America, for example, it has been said, I've heard people say it in school to me, teachers have said it to me, even actually said it to me, like without even batting an eye and or blushing or feeling ashamed at all, that in America, you just don't, you don't insinuate that people are common. That is to say, of the lower class, because everybody's supposedly equal, which is a bunch of shit, truly. I hope you didn't fall for that nonsense, because we're not all equal. And even though the law of the land, the principle of freedom that kind of dictates to the government what it should and shouldn't do and so on, says that under the law, now I don't know if you can find this in the Declaration of Independence. I don't even know if you can find this in the Constitution of the United States, for the United States, a government of America, a country. By the way, country, America, government, United States. And there's a whole story there about the American country and government being another name and the country being another name and America being also the name of a continent. Well, actually, America is not a continent. America is a part of a continent called North America. And I don't know what they called it before some asshole white guy came along and said, hey, let's call it America, after Amerigo. Anyway, probably the American Indians, the indigenous people, who were not Indians, actually, natives, maybe, indigenous folks, they probably called it the land. My new thermos cup, with them little, cups you can put hot or cold things in and just take it with you, like a to-go cup, but it's like this one's made out of, looks like stainless steel. It's beautiful. Anyway, I'm just saying, this thing about equal, that doesn't apply to you and me, okay? This concept of equal under the law, meaning that the law, that is to say, the people that make laws, like government, have to treat you equally. It's sort of like, let's put it this way. You have some servants, and you've hired them, and you say, okay, here is your little office for being my servant, your little, your servant's quarters, and then you sort of get to go over here and talk to each other and debate things and discuss it and come up with some laws and stuff and some course of action that you as a government, as a part of the government, you just say, let's see, we're government, what are we going to do? And then like Congress, senators and congressmen, and they think, well, we'll make some laws, and then all right, then how do you do that? Well, first you write it up, I guess, and then you bring it down to the floor of the Senate and to the Congress place where they do that. And by the way, making something includes the part where you actually put the ingredients together. Like not directly in the oven itself, but like in the kitchen area, or somewhere in the kitchen area where you're like mixing up the dough, putting the ingredients together. That's making. That is the physical property of making something. So when you're writing up a bill to be introduced into the House, let's say, that will eventually be voted on, perhaps, and thus, if voted for by the majority of these servants, that it is, oh, well, it's a law now. The bill has become an act. I think that's funny because an act is, the definition of the word. Anyway, if if I commit an act, and it's just a piece of paper that I've said, this piece of paper is really a piece of paper and it has words on it, and I mean what I say when I wrote them down there, and there they are, and I signed it. That would be more like a letter, I would think, instead of an act. An act is actually when I actually perform the act of signing my name to the letter. But the letter itself is not an act, because it's just a piece of paper with some words on it. Sorry to break your bubble there, bud. See, that's just something. See, I just learned something in my own head just now. An act, legally, government thing, Congress passes a bill and it becomes an act. Gonna have to do the research on that word, but I've just discovered that the word act, in some cases, doesn't actually mean what it means. Wow. Now, if you and I say, I'm going to perform an act, then we could pretty much assume that I'm actually going to do something. Physically, actually do something. Like, I'm going to hit you in the side of the head with my hand. I'm going to slap the shit out of you and make you simple. That would be an act. And if I sit down to write a letter, that could be an act of writing a letter, but I'm not going to call it something else when I'm done with it and put my name on it. Actually, when I'm done writing it and put my name on it, I'm going to call it, a letter. So why aren't bills that are passed by Congress called, like, letters? Or letters of law? How about that? Letters of law. It's an idea. So they might consider that. No, they probably won't, but if I suggest it to them, maybe they will. For about 4 seconds until they decide to start laughing and throw me out of the Senate building. Which would be very rude of them, considering I own that place just as much as the next guy. I have a right to be there. At least in the audience part, because I can observe my employees working. Or would that be considered spying on my employees? Which is sometimes considered uncouth. You shouldn't be spying on your help. It's my house. Why not? Because it's just unbecoming. Yeah, but they're in my house, house of, Congress and so on. And they're conspiring. Yeah, I know what the word conspiracy means. They're conspiring. If you don't know, look it up in a dictionary. A real one, not dictionary.com, which is kind of iffy. Well, you can use dictionary.com, but don't take it too seriously. They got it sort of right, but sometimes they add little extra tidbits of information that is totally not necessary in a fucking dictionary. Damn socialists. Anyway, I think it should be called letters of law. Besides, the government does make laws, and they do change the meaning of words for the law, not for us, not for everybody in regular life, but it's sort of like a code. It's like you got a bunch of servants in your house, and they get together in the servants' quarters, and they play cards and drink whiskey and shit, and have sex orgies. I've just described Congress, didn't I? All right. So, and then they're doing that, and I'm like, what are they doing in there? And they're making a lot of racket, and I can hear a lot of people going, oh, 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 and, having orgasm sounds coming out of the room, and their beer bottles breaking on the floor and shit. They're like, what the hell? And a lot of laughter and giggling, and I suspect some, hanky-panky. So anyway, I'm thinking, they're supposed to be out here, not in there. They're actually supposed to be on duty working, for me, out in the house, because I'm paying them. It's like, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Come on, for crying out loud. They should be working. Those are working hours for them. Well, some of them, I guess the night shift. Actually, in my mansion, if I had one, and I had a bunch of servants, if I could afford them, unless they were slaves, which I wouldn't do that because I just don't believe in slavery. But suppose I had some servants and I had like a day shift, like 3 shifts a day, okay, or maybe 4 shifts of 6 hours. Don't want to overtax the help, you know what I mean? I don't pay them that much. I'm not that. Anyway, so they're 4 shifts of 6 hours each, or 3 shifts of 8 hours each. So you got a morning shift, evening shift, and night shift. So what do the night shift servants do? I don't know. I think it'd be a good time to clean, except run the vacuum cleaner because who wants to hear that in the middle of the night when you're trying to sleep? But let's say that they're in there, and I'm hearing the noise coming from the servants' quarters, and they're having a party, an orgy. Didn't invite me. Damn, how rude. Anyway, they're allowed, I guess. So I'm saying, shouldn't you be, at least some of you be out here, it is almost supper time. Who's cooking my supper? I mean, are the cooks in there? And the maids, the servants, the people that serve the food, the little winches that bring out the food from the kitchen. Winch? I actually used the word winch. Yeah, because it's a word. And it's not really an insult. It's kind of a term of endearment. Well, in my house it is. Particularly if she's cute. And probably kind of dressed up in that cute little outfit, which I designed myself, by the way. You can imagine. It's kind of skimpy. Yes. Well, I keep it warm in the house. Well, the servants do. They make sure the furnace is well stoked, and the heat keeps coming, so I can actually walk around the mansion butt naked, because it is a big mansion, but still, lots of fireplaces and shit, which the servants are responsible for keeping them burning and keeping the house warm at night and stuff, or in the daytime too. So I don't have to wear a freaking wool coat or a one of them sleeping blanket thingies. I forget what they call them. Fur coats and shit. Wool coats. No, not fur, because fur is not. It looked kind of on today. But anyway, yeah, I'd have a fur coat. Maybe even a leather coat. I have actually a leather coat. And a synthetic fur coat, which is, it's passable, but still. All right. So what do they do with the fur for, say, cows and stuff that they kill and put on my plate as T-bone steaks and hamburgers and shit? What happens to that fur? Oh, it's not good enough for a coat? How insulting. How rude to the cow. Oh, you're a cow. Yeah, we'll eat your insides, but, your fur coat just doesn't cut it. It's just, really skanky. We have to have things like mink and sable and stuff. Anyway, equal. See, I'm you have to keep up, people. I mean, come on. If you can't keep up with a lousy, 45 minute little monologue here, and you can't make notes, or just listen to the show over and over again until you get all the little nuances and fine print and stuff. Don't be stupid, in other words. Pay attention. You're just kind of rambling around, jumping over here and jumping over there. That's just the way I do it. And if you don't like it, fuck you. If you're listening, then you're probably cool with that. And you probably just keep listening and saying, what the hell is he talking about? It's not that I have a short attention span. It's just that I have very little patience. Those damn words, they just keep trying to scurry off into different directions. And I follow them because, there might be something interesting over there. And I might actually eventually get back to where I was in the first place. In the beginning, chapter 1. This is chapter 1. I've been over in chapter 12 for a while. It's okay. then I go back to chapter 1. Sometimes. Well, eventually. So, anyway. So, just keep up. Take notes if you have to. Get a translator if you don't speak English. That is to say, if you don't hear English well. Someone said to me one time, you just babble on and on. No, babble. I don't babble. I ramble. There's a difference. Look the word up in a frickin' dictionary. Rambling is cool. Babbling is what you people do. Not necessarily the person that I'm talking, not necessarily you listening to this, but other people, most people. Got babble, 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 yada, 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 yada. And they don't really say anything. Sometimes they say stuff that's just like total bullshit, and then they just repeat stuff they heard on the freaking internet, probably, or somewhere, or were indoctrinated with it in school. Those concentration camps, public schools. And I'm not even going to talk about these religious schools, like Catholic schools, because don't want to go there, because I just don't want to piss off the Catholics right now, okay? I'm talking about other kinds of human people. All right, so the deal is, Joseph and Mary, who weren't married at the time, I'm just asking, okay? I'm just because I'm curious. That's my nature. I insatiable curiosity, and so I'm asking. So Joseph and Mary were betrothed, that is to say, engaged, apparently, and as is the custom in people in that area of the world at that time, he probably paid. Who were her parents, by the way? Did anybody ever mention who Mary's mother and father was, and what they did for a living, and what their names were, and if she had any brothers and sisters, and if she was if she'd had any sort of trauma in her younger life, like was she raped by her father or something? You know what I'm saying? You do know what I'm saying, right? Was she molested by her father or her brother? Incest. Which, by the way, when did that become a problem? Anyway, people overreact to things like that, I think. Seriously. Won't get into that. Get into that some other time. So anyway, was she molested, abused, raped? Now, I'm not going to get into the details of that either, because rape is when, you're raped. That's like, sexual parts come together and, with a finger in the whole thing. Or wherever that hole may be. Front, bottom, top, or whatever, back. Yeah. Most dicks can actually fit in all three holes. Really. I know this from experience. Anyhow. I'm not, no, I won't. I was going to say something about myself, but I won't. Because I'm not gay. Anyhow. Anyway, Mary and Joseph, this older guy who's like a businessman, like carpenter, what we would call maybe like a general contractor in today's world. Though I don't know if there was a whole lot of plumbing work for him to do. If like I was a general contractor 40 years or so, and I did some plumbing, I did some carpentry, I did some roofing, things like that. So Joseph probably didn't do a whole lot of plumbing, like hook up water heaters and dishwashers and stuff. Probably not. I doubt it. Though he might have actually hired a dishwasher to come in and wash dishes. Or maybe a slave would do that. I don't know. Did Joseph have slaves? We don't know. I don't think. I don't remember hearing about that. Joseph. Well, slaves were common in those days, and people apparently didn't think anything about it. And according to the Bible, you could rape your slave, just you couldn't sell it to another Jew. Slave, the other slave. If you had a slave and you raped it, she was tainted, probably, and couldn't sell it to another Jew. Or was it the other way around? You could sell it to anybody. The slave I'm talking about. You could sell a slave to someone who was not a Jew. You couldn't sell it to a Jew. Or was it the other way around? You could sell it to a Jew, but not to a heathen or pagan or what have you. Anyway. All right. All that under consideration. So I'm just asking the questions, and I may have a clue what the answers are. But sometimes the answers just don't matter. For example, you know what I mean. So okay, So anyway, we got Mary and Joseph who weren't married, and then all of a sudden they get to this town where they're going to have the baby is due, and so apparently it's been 9 months, and since God came down with His holy, godly prick and impregnated her, perhaps unbeknownst to her, because the angel told her after the fact, from what I can understand, like, God came down and He made you pregnant. He knocked you up, He shot His seed into your vagina while you were sleeping, probably. And you're not a virgin anymore, by the way, because even a God's dick counts. Sorry for you naive Christian people. Well, in the image of God, so God and man look pretty much alike, with testicles and balls and and a dick or a cock, depending on what word you choose to use there. But anyway, the holy grail of cocks is a word. Christians are now saying, "Oh, you bad man, you." If there were a God, which there isn't, but if there were, is a God, he certainly has a sense of humor, because, come on. Have you looked at a man and his junk lately? Come on. If you're a man, look down. Look down, see yourself. If that's not funny, if you don't think that's funny, you're just not trying. All right. I have no sense of humor, and my dick is not weird. Yeah, it's weird. If you think a man's dick is not weird, look at a horse. Yeah, it's very long. Wow. I wonder if horses stand around and say, my dick's longer than yours. Well, no, it's not. I'm going to tell my daddy on you. Whatever. See that girl over there? Yeah, that girl horse? I'm going to show you. This is how it's done, fella. Little boy. Watch and learn. If size is any indication of holiness or whatever. Well, anyway, never mind. We won't go into that. So anyway, I was just bringing up some questions and giving you some answers, actually. If you look for them, they're in there. About Jesus and Mary and Joseph and God and God's cock and stuff like that. And, sometimes people just, I come back to that, boggle the mind, because they believe stuff that is just like totally absurd and ridiculous, and probably like a lot of times insane, and sometimes just downright stupid. Really. I just okay, that was fun, and I'm done now, pretty much, and I'm just gonna stop here, and if I feel like it, I'll pick it up on the next episode, or a segment, or whatever you want to call it, because my time's about up. So I get 45 minutes, and it's 40 minutes just now. And that means 5 minutes or less, actually. And so what I'll do is, I'll just say this. I'm Dee McClung. This is Archer Monologues, where I talk and you listen. Or not. Catch you next time. Have a good day. Have a fabulous day. And try not to be, duped too much by the mindbenders and the neocon socialist alliance and the collective agenda people. Those people. All right? All right. Give the little woman a kiss for me. Okay? Tell her last night was fantastic. It was just wonderful. Let's try it again sometime. Right. Yeah, when your husband's out of town. Sure. Okay. Catch you later. Oh, I am shameless. Yes, I am. Well, I'm not painfully aware. Well, that's what shame means. Adam and Eve, and they saw that they were naked and they were ashamed, meaning they became painfully aware of the fact that they didn't have fur like the other animals, which I don't think is a bad thing. It's just, guilt has nothing to do with it. It's just they didn't have fur and feathers and scales and stuff like, other animals and things, and the fishes. So, ashamed, painfully aware. Now, painfully is a relative word, but probably because they've been running through the briar patches and got little briar scratches and shit all over their thighs and buttocks and, private parts and shit. And they're like, ow, that hurts. We ought to do something about that. Like, see that lion over there? He has fur. He can run through the briars and not get scratched up like us. Look at us. I'm bleeding from my vagina. Oh, that's probably just your period starting, kid. What? What are you talking about, Adam? Period. Menstruation. Monthly bleeding time. Oh, that's just gross. Yeah, well, get used to it, because from now on, bingo, you're going to be doing that. Not every month. Trust me. How do you know that? Well, I ate from the tree of knowledge and shit, so now I know stuff. And you ate from it too, so you should know that already. Like, huh? And she's like, little Eve is like saying, I didn't know that. And, well, you ate from the apple, didn't you? You ate the tree. Ate from the tree, right? Yeah. Knowledge, yeah. Good and evil, yeah. Right and wrong, yeah. Nature and the laws of nature and everything human and stuff. Like, we eat stuff and then, a little bit later, maybe, we take a dump. Really? And Eve is like, that is just gross. Yeah. Wait until you see what I do with my dick, sweetheart. Think that's gross. All right. And, open your mouth. Let me see. Yeah, I think it'll fit. We'll try that later, sweetheart. Because now God has said, now that you know about fucking and putting your dick in holes and different holes and trying different holes, and it won't fit in your nose. Won't try that. My dick is too big for your nose. But it's just right for your mouth. Open up, sweetie. All right. All right. Gotta go. Catch you later.